I think it goes without saying that we've entered a peculiar time in history that doesn't really need any further explanation in terms of the impacts that has on the wider world. But I do think we can all do with some help figuring out how to navigate these waters, and I think that's the main reason we've set this webinar up. And so one of the things I've been contemplating over the last few months is how a black swan event like COVID-19 impacts the world, and obviously specifically how it impacts us as an IT community in the long run. And I think one of the mistakes that we sometimes make is to assume that the present disruptions, are the big risk to how we operate, when really I think what we should consider is how the current events are going to drive permanent and long-term changes to the way we shop, work, learn, and live. Because this is ultimately going to impact on the shape and form of IT services in the future. So it's with that in mind that I'm really pleased to welcome our guest speakers for today. Over the past 2 years, you've been setting out a strategy to deliver mobile devices to your staff and learners. I believe some 4,500 users in total would get access to this facility eventually. And that's obviously a significant undertaking and investment. So what were some of the key end user requirements and business objectives that you hoped to achieve through this strategy?
The original plan was part of the college technology strategy, which was to move us forward as a college to be more digital. One of the requirements there was to change the way that we delivered teaching and learning in classrooms. The traditional method was you'd have a classroom with a board, tables, desks, or you had a PC lab. And if you wanted to do anything on a computer, you went to a PC lab. And if you didn't need that, you went to a classroom. What we wanted was a blended learning space where learners could have access to small mobile devices so they could access things like our VLE, Office 365 and general internet searches, but also use that space for general learning as well. So it's a sort of blended environment. Like you say, when we worked it out, it was about 4,500 devices we would need to install. And our first concern was how we're going to manage those.
Specifically, Evan, what were the factors that ultimately led you to pick this Nutanix and Citrix VDI solution over what were presumably quite a few other options that you evaluated?
We'd already had quite a lot of experience with Nutanix. And if I said to my colleagues in my team that what do you think about Nutanix? Do you think we ought to change? They would probably say, no, don't change Nutanix because we love it. The Nutanix platform has been absolutely excellent for us. We've really benefited from that. It's simplified so many levels. It's given us so much flexibility. The Citrix element came in, and we could see sort of straight away that there was a massive amount of flexibility there as well. Not only could it do what we wanted it to do in our limited classroom environment, managing 4,500 desktops, but also we could see the possibilities and the gate opening for further use.
And what were your initial thoughts as the education sector was plunged into its present challenges?
I think we realized straight away that we had possibly three really good things in our favor. One, we had Office 365, which meant that we had a lot of platform that could be accessed from anywhere. Two, we had Citrix environment, which meant that even with some of the more exotic applications that our users need, we could deploy those. And three, we just taken delivery of a load of laptops. It was a question there of thinking how we apply those tools in a very, very short period of time to make sure that our users can carry on working at home. The 365 stuff sort of looked after itself because that was already set up, but I think there was a lot of work on the Citrix side to make sure we had the right desktops, the right applications, and those are tested.
How would you say that the Nutanix Citrix solution helped you actually, get to where we are today?
We didn't know we were going into lockdown or be closed until the Friday, but we'd spun up 1,200 desktops on the Monday afternoon. We'd started giving access to staff, making the announcements that we had this ability for remote desktop, because not many of our staff knew anything about Citrix VDI. They just thought, when we go off site, that's it. They're going to be limited in what they can do. And then it was just a case of creating the desktops, making people aware, and hoping that everything worked and everything worked smoothly. But the staff picked it up. We've had students remoted in to use it to access files that they've stored locally on their network drives, and so far so good.
I really don't know what we would have done without Citrix and the Nutanix platform. Citrix has really meant that all the operational issues of the college have been run. We've run payroll, finance, HR, all those applications. Our MS guys can access all our student records. So things like applications can come in. We can continue to pick up students and enroll students. So we can do everything from an IT point of view with nobody on site. From a teaching and learning point of view, it's enabled our staff to create learning materials to everything being online with nothing in the classroom. So it's enabled us to do that as well. So from an IT point of view, we've managed to give our users an experience that is near enough what they would have had in college.
What kind of devices are your end users actually using now? Presumably not everybody has a college-issued device.
We sort of had a range. We had, last year, we did the procurement of staff devices, so they all had quite new, high-end Lenovo ThinkPads. Then it was a case of, how can we provide access to other people that may not have a device? So we've got a variety of different student laptops. Some of those laptops are quite a few years old, but the performance on those connected to Citrix is fine. So we're able to give everybody a very, very similar experience, regardless of the age or spec of the device that they're connecting from. We've had staff taking physical computers home, plug in Wi-Fi, plug in a network cable in to get them internet access, and they've then joined a Citrix session. We didn't use the Workspace app on those. We just used the cloud connector and all go through the website. It meant we were able to give a lot more people access in the short time frame that we had. Now, if you'd asked anybody in January what Citrix was on site, any member of staff, you'd have very few people would know anything about it. Now, if you ask them about it, 95% of the people have used it, have connected, and they've all got an experience, and all that feedback we can work on and build on when we do get back to site, and we can develop it further and move further and better suited to provide staff and students with an ever-growing experience.
What are some of the key wins that you think you've achieved through this? Obviously, you were looking at a mobile computing strategy. And now this project is, your vehicle to delivering that. And then you've obviously seen a couple of key wins. And there's probably some things you still want to see realized in the future. Maybe you can just talk us through some of those things.
It's given the college the ability to plan, because we can have business as usual up to a point with everybody work from home. People can work, they can get on with it, what they need to do. I think the other thing from our point of view, it's really enhanced the reputation of the ICT department. I don't think anybody would have expected the level of service we've been able to provide back in January. It's really given confidence about what we can actually do with technology and change the way that we work in terms of being able to work remotely, being able to manage applications and systems, and also keeping those systems secure as well. We'd had some questions from our audit committee about how secure our systems were. And because we're using Citrix, they're probably more secure now than they were when we had people on site, because everything goes through Citrix, everything goes through Office 365. So we're really secure. The other things we've got to worry about is things like phishing and social manipulation. So for things like that, we've really shown the power of this technology to be used within the general business of the college, but also in teaching and learning as well.
What is the plan for, when everyone comes back in September? Is that going to be different to, you've obviously just gone into the summer break now, but I'm sure there must be a lot of thinking about what college is going to look like in September.
Well, I think the key thing there is that the issues around COVID are that the more people you have together, the higher the risk. We've already mentioned that there are certain things that we have to do on site for teaching and learning. If you're a welder, bricklayer, do any sort of land-based stuff, there's only so much you can do at home. But what Citrix and remote desktops allows us to do is the people who can work from home are able to work from home, and they're able to work from home just as well as they were in an office. So from that point of view, it's going to give us a far more flexibility in September when we hope to get back to some sort of normality with learners on campus. But it means that lecturers aren't teaching can work from home. Business support staff who don't need to be on campus can work from home. Managers who don't need to be on campus can work from home, freeing up that space and reducing the risk to our colleagues and our learners.
Great, thank you. Right, so just my last question, and it's again, I think one for both of you, and I hope this doesn't come across as a plug, but obviously it would be really nice, I think, for us to hear what it's been like working with ETWorks as a partner. I'm sure the audience is interested. We've got a mixture of existing customers and prospective customers listening.
Yeah, we've had a relationship with Eurotech and now ETWorks for 5 years. It was originally with the Nutanix server storage hyperconverged solution. We've always had I think we've always seen you as a very trusted partner and supplier. Whenever we've had any issues at all, whether it's with technology or whether it's with the contractual side or with the financing or with the costs, we've always managed to work stuff out. And thanks to you Franz, you've worked your socks off with some of the deals you've managed to get put together for us, so we can afford to buy these things that have helped us through these times. So yeah, we've had a really positive experience working with ETWorks, and long may it continue. I think John, I'm sure you've got something to say there as well.
Yeah, when I came into the department, obviously I'd never met Franz or Jordan, never done anything with this sort of thing. And from the POC, when I met Jordan, he would always go through things thoroughly. You could ask him any sort of questions. Obviously, I'd never used any of this platform before, so it was all a completely new language for me. And right from day one, even to the present day, if we've got any issues, I can just email him. We worked through it all. He tested it. He would do web sessions, because the idea of the solution for us was to make it as seamless as possible, so that the students, when they log in to a mobile device, they won't realize that they're on a VDI session. It was to try and keep it all as fluid as logging into a physical device, and that posed some challenges. But Jordan helped. We had Craig from Citrix. Everybody had time to make the solution work and make sure it was all a success. And I think if we didn't have that from the off, then the lockdown solution would have been completely different. It may not have looked as it looks now. It may not have been as smooth as it did, because there was bumps in the road from as we were setting it up. But it's a new system, so that can be expected. But from now right through to the moment since the lockdown has started, it has been really, really smooth. The feedback has been really, really positive, and that's a combined effort from everybody, Citrix and yourselves and Jordan, which if we didn't have that input and help, I don't think we would have been able to make it as a success as it was as quick as we did, because none of us were expecting the usage to ramp up from a couple of hundred desktops in the summer right through to 1,200. Well, it was 1,200 plus desktops from day one.
Great. Thank you very much. That's obviously, it's wonderful to hear that. I think, Evan, I'd echo what you say, because, being in IT for 23 years, I feel sometimes like I'm a doctor and I only hear about a lot of problems and complaints. It's wonderful to get some positive feedback, and congratulations to you and your team for winning that award. That takes doing. I recognize that. So well done. And we're really glad that we could be there to help you on that journey. And thank you very much for joining us today. I think your input and comments have been invaluable to everyone who's joined us on the call today.